Another day. It is Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. I know my dad's watching. Always says give the date and the day. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Do us a favor. Smash the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Got Buddy Martin with us this morning. Brendan and Stella on a trip up to Wisconsin. So Buddy producing from Panama City. Got a great lineup today, man. One of my favorite, I call him the truth broker, native of Prattville, Alabama. Roman Harper played a little college football at Alabama, 11 years in the NFL, Saints Super Bowl. Who dat? He's just Roman's just cool, and I love watching.
I can't wait to see what he's wearing today on your show.
Yeah, and listen, man, he's cool. Him and Cole Kubiak have the best show, Read and React. It is two football junkies who can put this complex minutia in the vernacular. Also, we'll be joined by Vince Ferrara, the sports animal, up in Knoxville, talking about the Tennessee Baseballs as they are heading to Omaha, third time in the last 4 years. Smash subscribe button, bottom right-hand corner. Allow notifications on Android and iPhone. Tell friends, families, and neighbors. But do yourself this favor right now. You will get out of life what you accept. It is going to be a great day. Get pen and paper handy because here we come. Let's bring in Roman Harper and talk about this SEC schedule. Roman, man, I'm telling you what.
My bad. I need to flip my camera. Sorry, guys.
Okay. But I was watching, buddy. Buddy, I was watching.
Socks look cool.
Yeah. I mean, he wears some cool socks. And I tell you one thing. We gave to the people at the Touchdown Club Monday, LeBonner Children's Hospital socks, our guests, and that was a lot of fun. Roman, good morning.
Good morning. Can you guys see me now?
Oh yeah. I was just talking. I was just bragging on you. Father of 4 young children, and I got to say thank you so much for taking time to join us. My son Wilson, the redhead, said he met you last week in the grocery store up in Charlotte. He works up there in mergers and acquisition. He goes, he's a cool dude. I said, I told you he is. You're the truth broker. And we watched you and Cole yesterday and because Cole was supposed to speak at the Touchdown Club in Memphis Monday, but last week they told him, I guess y'all had to get that show done the day before. But let's talk about the schedule in the SEC. What's the takeaway that you saw? And by the way, when will Read and React air its first episode?
The Read and React question, I don't know. I think once season starts, maybe before week 1, week 0, something like that, we'll get it started. But my one takeaway from the schedule release was that, 9 out of the top 10 hardest schedules in the country, according to the experts, are all in the SEC. So they're all no cakewalk. So the SEC, I don't want to hear anybody complaining about what this other team has, because at some point everybody has to play each other. And luckily you're probably going to be allowed more than one loss if you want to get in the playoffs. And so what you got to do is handle your schedule, handle the road games, and the games that you're supposed to win, you got to win them. Georgia does not have an easy schedule like they did last year. They have a very tough schedule. And, a lot of people would say it would be panic, but Georgia's earned the respect that they have right now. And some other really interesting teams, depending on who you ask, what team has what. But I don't think anybody has a cakewalk.
Yeah, I don't think either. Buddy Martin's on with us right now, GatorbaitMedia.com and host of the Buddy Martin Show, longtime sports writer. And, Buddy covers Florida, but he's been the sports editor, New York Daily News, Denver Post. He's been around the country. Buddy, you jump into this thing because you always have great questions, kind of like a great attorney.
Well, I don't know about that. I enjoy Roman's shows. I watched him and Cole yesterday. In fact, Cole's supposed to be on my show either this week or next. And you guys mix it up, chop it up good. Roman always just sort of, he has the heart of a journalist because he kind of pushes you back a little bit. He won't get sucked into giving compliments where they don't deserve. And I know he holds back on people want to say, well, you look at Ole Miss. They're going to go undefeated, and Florida's going to win 8 games. Roman's not buying it yet, right, Roman?
No, not at all. For me, I will say this. I said it the other day. I said Ole Miss on paper is the most NFL talent I've ever seen on an Ole Miss team at one time. Where you got guys at all different levels on both sides of the football that are like high NFL prospects or guys that can play on Sundays. You've not seen that or been able to say that about a lot of Ole Miss rosters. Yes, have they had good players? Yes. Has it all been sporadic? Yes, but never this loaded. So Ole Miss, they're definitely, but can they live up to the potential? The other thing that I think is an advantage for Ole Miss is that they don't play Alabama, which Lane Kiffin has not been able to knock off. And I know he's been close, and 3 or 4 years is supposed to be, oh, this is the year. Oh, this is the year. And now you don't have to worry about that. You do have Georgia, but it's at home. And maybe you can beat Georgia. Sometimes it's just, I can beat up my cousin, but I can't beat up my brother. I don't know what it is. I'm bigger than both of them, but it's just something mentally that's different. So I feel like that could be an issue. Well, that could be a really positive for Ole Miss. And then the other side of it, Florida, Cole, I said, you can call it a bold statement or not. It's just my opinion. I'm like, look, I don't know if Florida's going to win a game after October 5th. And he was like, you're getting logo fever and oh man, you're just looking at these other teams and da. And then he goes back and repeats every point. I'm like, you still didn't address any game past October 5th, Cole. So, I mean, you're defending it. All I'm saying is they still got to go out there and play the games. And from what I saw last year to what I know other teams have, just on paper, Florida's not better than some of those teams. Not only that, but when Florida had opportunities in the last couple of years, and I like Billy Napier, they haven't played well in the big games either. So you got to get over a couple of different things. Not only is the talent deficient with some of the teams that are on your roster, on your schedule, but then also playing really good in the big moment. Florida's not really done that as much as they needed to, or we wouldn't be having these concerns and questions about the University of Florida.
To your point, if I may, and I'll get out of your way, Rob.
No, good.
Is that as a longtime observer of this league, what I see ahead is, and you know this, toughest ever with Texas now coming in, obviously, in Oklahoma. There are no days off now. And as a player, your body gets beat up. That's what I call, I coined this phrase with Urban Meyer, residual impact of your body getting beat up week after week after week. Now, Florida's got what they call the Bataan Death March after October the 5th. But but on the other hand, here's the other side, flip side, Roman. So have the other guys.
Yes.
Look, Florida State's lost a lot of players. Who's to say they're going to be that good when they get there? So we're going to find out who wants to play ball starting in November. It's going to be a brutal finish for some teams.
Yeah, and it's not like I didn't say Florida won't win any games. I said it's hard for me to see them just because of the schedule. And then what you're talking about, the effect of, you lose 2 games, sometimes it'll cost you 3. Auburn has a couple games. I know they got a bye week in between Georgia and Missouri, but you lose Georgia. Georgia beats you down physically. Yeah. Missouri can beat you, and they can beat you physically. You lose those 2 games on the road, shoot. Who's to say you can go into Kentucky and get beat pretty bad too, just because of the residual effect of the other games. And I know players get sore, and I know we like to talk about players getting beat up, but I'm gonna be flat out honest. Maybe it was just me, maybe I was just a baller, maybe I was just young and dumb. But I didn't get real sore in college. I loved playing every single game because I love to play the game, and it's another opportunity to compete. And that is what the other thing we haven't given enough credit to for the SEC is that the best players in the country are all coming to the SEC because they want to play against the best. And everybody loves to compete, or you wouldn't be doing this game at the highest level or trying to achieve or strive to play this game at the highest level, because ultimately you got to get up there and compete. And you can be really good in college and be very, very average or nonchalant or not even effective in the NFL game. So enjoy this moment and really go out there and compete and take advantage of every opportunity.
Rob, I'm looking at this thinking all your listeners are looking like, who is Romeo Gonzalez?
I like that.
That's my alias. It's always on there.
I'm going to tell you something else I like. Last year at SEC Media Days, I brought it was really cool. I brought Oakley McFerrin up. He's going to be my assistant, intern out there at SEC Media Days. And Roman took time talking to him and everybody else. But what I love about Roman is, I think it's WSFA TV 12, Montgomery was talking to him. and he talks about where he's from. He's from Prattville, and he loves the people, his family. He never, ever misses an opportunity to thank the people who've helped him along the way. And Roman also takes care of himself. He works out. You look like you could still play. But I'm with you. I think people, in my practice in managing people's money for 33 years, I've had people that I lived to be 107.5. Now, on that death certificate, what did they die of? They were 107.5. But she drove till she was 102, But
Yeah.
you got to be active. You look at college now, and I think there's a lot of people getting worried about NIL and the portal and all. But it's always darkest before dawn. And we're gonna get through this. We've been through a lot of rough spots in college football in 155 years. But you know what? There's all these great stories out there about young men, young women that come from all kinds of backgrounds. But I remember what Keith Jackson used to say on ABC. So many of these coaches come from humble beginnings. You look at like a Coach Bryant, a Coach Dye. You think about where they came from, the influence, the coaches you had in college and in the NFL. Do you still stay in touch with them?
Yes, of course I do. Take that to London. She'll get you some more. Sorry, my son.
I love the fact that you love your kids.
That's my baby boy soul.
Okay.
He's 3. He'll be 4 in a couple of weeks, but in his mind he's like 7 or 8. So
you ready to go on
he's
TV
good
now? Maybe he'll start doing TV now.
Then he'll act shy. He tries to do that. He plays that whole shy thing when he wants to be that way. But yes, I still talk to a lot of my coaches. My DB coach, Coach Ball. He was at Northern Arizona, and then one of my other coaches, Coach Melvin Smith. I loved him. He was always very, very influential to me. I still talk to him, and literally, he's living in like Texas A&M right now over there, and so he's like in College Station, and he was like, "Next time you're in town, we got to play some golf." And I'm like, "All right, deal, coach." So we're gonna do that, and then all my other coaches. I had Coach Shula, who's my head coach.
Yeah,
he was actually the offensive coordinator when I was in Carolina when we went to the Super Bowl. So getting to see him later on. And then not only that, but like his daughter, who was just like 2 or 3 when he was in Tuscaloosa. And then like I saw her as a teenager, and it was just like, hey, I know you don't know me, but like I've known you for a very long time, since you were like 2 or 3 years old. And her mom was just blushing and giving me the biggest hug. And I don't burn bridges. Like I'm a bridge builder. I've never burned bridges. And I don't hold on to a lot of anger. I've learned how to forgive. I've learned how to forget from everybody that's, thought I was this or maybe were wrong or wronged me. I don't let that hold me down, because that's like poison. So because of those things, I've been better. And look, man, all my NFL coaches too, I've kept up with all of them. And so, I got an opportunity to talk to Alabama not too long ago. And I told the players, I'm like, I'm not up here in front of you guys because of how many tackles I had, how many sacks I had, or interceptions, and the Super Bowl that we didn't even mention when they brought me up here. It's more just like, it's because of my character, like the person I am. Like when people see me, it's usually they talk about Roman Harper, and it's usually with a smile. And and I come across as just a guy. Man, I'd like to maybe just have a beer with that guy and watch him ball.
Yeah,
and that's usually what I'm doing anyways. So it's exactly who I am, and I'm afforded this opportunity and this platform to where I get to talk ball. I get to be around the game that I love. That was my very first love. And really just.
Well, and you look, Roman, around, and we'll get him back on here in a second. But the love that you have of the game, the coaches.
You guys hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
My
got you.
Homeboy called me.
Okay. But you were talking, Roman. You were talking about just staying in touch. Yeah, you may have hit the mute button, but talking about all the coaches.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, my homeboy called me, so I didn't know.
Okay. Now I had someone do the same thing. But Roman, you talked about you played your coaches, staying in touch with them, and like you said, John Thompson, legendary basketball coach at Georgetown, won a lot. And they said Patrick Ewing was in his office one time, and there was a deflated basketball on his desk in his office.
Can y'all hear me?
No,
I'm not hearing anything from you guys.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, Roman, we hear you. Okay. Check the mute button on there if you can. Okay. We'll see what happens on that. It may have hit the mute button. Yeah, you've got the mute button on if you can take that off. Okay. All right. We'll get him back on in a second. But I think that, when you look at what happens with in any of these athletes going along, the relationships that you have, buddy, and he's right. Your coaches, your teammates. Roman's got that personality. People do want to be around him. He's positive.
Hold on a second.
He's going to be honest too.
Roman, is back here.
Okay. Roman, you got us?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I like what you said about your teammates. And that's, like I said, my brother-in-law played college football at Virginia Tech. And I remember going back over to Blacksburg one time, probably 10 years after he had graduated. And he wasn't a starter. He played tight end. But everybody in that training room knew him, because they all talked about what a hard worker he was and team first guy. And he had a great career in the Carolinas and in Virginia in banking and trust work, Charlotte. And, and by the way, how cool a city is Charlotte to live in?
It's pretty cool, man. I mean, you got everything because you got professional sports. It's a banking city. It's a lot of money here, way more than I thought. And but I enjoy it. The airport's awesome, easy to travel. It's still like 6 hours from my hometown, so it's kind of located enough where I need it to be. And it has got some great schools for my kids too. So that's what really it is. We only really live here because it's easy to raise kids here.
Yeah. Roman, I want to ask you about what you think about Texas A&M. Mike Elko's out there, and we talk on this show so much about only God and the Longhorns have more money than the Aggies. But if money were the only thing, Texas and Texas A&M would be swapping national championships. And you look at it from 1970 to the present, the whole state of Texas with 30 million people, 13 Division I teams now, has one national championship. That was Texas in 2005. Vince Young around right end. What is different when you go to College Station? I know their fans are incredible, but then you look at a state like Alabama, with Auburn and Alabama, a little over 5 million people. And it's almost like I compare the state of Alabama to the 300 Spartans and the state of Texas as Xerxes with, 500,000 soldiers. And those 300 are like, come and get us, come and take them. There's something about it, but you got a different perspective possibly.
No, look, Texas A&M is a special place, especially because the fans are a little bit different. Everybody, hey, look, I've been on that campus a couple of times, and I joke with all of them because I'm like, you guys are kind of like a cult, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, we are. Honestly, we are. And so they know exactly who they are, and they've all drank the Kool-Aid, and they're fine with that. They get the Texas A&M ring, the Aggie ring, and all this other stuff. And I'm big fans of it. And yes, they have a lot of money, and I think they understand like just throwing money at their problems doesn't solve them. And so what do they do to try and solve them? They're trying to. Talent has not been an issue at Texas A&M. It's been all the other things, everybody coming in, playing up to the standard or the caliber in which you've been recruited to come in there and do. It's not about the facilities. It's not about all these other things. It's literally the product on the field. I'm a big fan of Mike Elko, his organization, the way he goes about his business. I can't wait. I saw what he did at Duke as a head coach. Yeah. Really got those guys playing at a high level. And when you get success at Duke, it's usually not because of the talent level is just better than everybody. It's because you're doing the little things the correct way all the time. And so the little things are just little things until they become something big. And so you don't ever worry about it. No, I got it, coach. I got it, coach. Oh, no, coach, I got it. But then all of a sudden you don't got it in the game. And so you got to get those things corrected all the time because that is just the way we go about our business. And so you saw that kind of come to play when you look at Mike Elko and what they did at Duke. And so if he's able to bring that same type of consistency, everybody being engaged and locked in consistently like that, bring that to Texas A&M, which he did that on the defensive side of the ball when he was the DC.
If they were to do that as a team holistically, then you will see Texas A&M be successful and try and get to that 10-win mark. Now, their schedule doesn't do them any favors, and the quarterback, Connor Wegman, has to stay healthy because when he's healthy, he's good. But he's not healthy a lot of the times. He hasn't really been healthy the 2 years he's been trying to be a starter. So we'll see how that goes. The transfer portal affects everybody positively and negatively. So I want to see what Mike Elko is going to be able to do. And, you know, at the end of the day, they paid Jimbo $72 million to not coach us because we want that guy. So it's going to be interesting to see. And as far as Alabama, look, man, Alabama got lucky in a sense. The whole state. We were in a huge drought from championships. Alabama had Mike Shula. They fired Mike Shula after Mike Price was supposed to be something great for 3 months. And then, you know, Alabama, Nick Saban was not the number one candidate. Let's not forget that. It's not like Alabama was Jesus and we just went out there and got the guy. No, they wanted Rich Rodriguez. They wanted somebody else. And then, last minute, we got on a plane, Malmore did, and we got Nick Saban to come down there, to come back from Miami. And the rest is kind of history. And then Auburn, with their one national championship, I call them kind of lucky too, because nobody knew Cam Newton was going to be Cam Newton. I mean, they didn't play him in the spring game. We didn't know that he was what he was. It's probably considered to be the most dynamic, dominant force in the SEC for 6 months that we've seen since maybe Bo Jackson or Herschel Walker way back when.
Hard to believe he was on the same roster with Tim Tebow, you know, and Florida. Real quick, I know you got to probably.
But Florida had way more talent than what Auburn had at Tim. Like, it is not the same. Florida, Tim Tebow had a whole bunch of ballers around him. Cam had Cam.
Yeah.
Like, then you couldn't tell me anybody else.
Nick Fairley.
But he on the other side.
I know. I know.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it.
Hey,
I
Roman,
agree with you.
I'm sorry, Rob. The time you said that, I want to horn in here. But I got to ask a couple of questions of him about some friends of mine. And I'd like a little dirt on them if I could possibly get it, okay?
Well, I'll give it to you.
Okay, because they're two people you know pretty well. First of all, Feinbaum and I go back 40 years together. And, you know, he's a piece of work. And I know you know him well. And, and you're on the show with him. I love Paul. Paul pisses me off, pardon my French sometimes, but he does everybody. That's his job. I'm a big fan of his. He's losing too much weight. We know that. The other one is Laura Rutledge, who worked for me, is Laura McKeeman. She was my intern in Florida. She was sensational then. We knew it and told her she was going to be a superstar one day, and she was. But now she's starting to lose too much weight. I think she's on Feinbaum's diet, okay? So do me a favor, will you, Romeo? Will you talk it up and tell her not to start going on Feinbaum's diet? Eat the meat, it's okay, and have a drink, okay?
I will.
I like that.
I've seen, the funny thing is, like, I never see Paul eat anything.
No, he doesn't.
But I have seen them both have a drink, though. So I do know both of them will drink. Laura is just naturally a small, amazing lady. She's awesome, though. And the funny thing about Paul is, I think that is Paul's superpower. Paul has learned how to say absolutely nothing. And throw questions right back on people. They get so angry. And I'm just like, dude, this guy's talented to be able to say nothing and get people going the way that he does. It's always so fun. And, you know, getting to know these guys and being on that set with that crew, it's been amazing because, you know, I'm the oldest, but it's outside of Paul. Like, I'm the oldest, but I'm the newest. I'm the youngest as far as TV career.
Well, y'all are good together. You got good chemistry, and I love both Paul and Laura, by the way, just so you know.
Thank you. I could tell. Most people that know those two love them both. You know, a lot of the callers hate Paul, but that's because he's just so good at his job.
Well, he was in Memphis, you know, back April 29th at the Touchdown Club. Came on this show Friday, May 3rd. Had Tony Barnhart on, Mr. College Football. And the two of them stayed on together. And it was like getting Led Zeppelin back together. I mean, it was just unbelievable. But Paul went to my high school, Christian Brothers High School in Memphis. And then he transferred to White Station High School, where my kids graduated from. He's a Memphis guy. I mean, he's really, you know, I told him, I said, you put on a daily clinic for 4 hours on how to conduct an interview. Because he gets the best guests and he lets them go. And we're just jacked up talking to you. And I know but we love having you on because You exude confidence, Roman. And my dad's always said, you wake up in the morning, you decide how your day is going to be. You decide who you hang out with. If you want to see your future, look at who you hang out with. If you don't like it, hang out with new people. But since you came to SEC Network, I'm going to say this, and I mean it. You're the truth broker because you're not going to get into the group think and talk about, I think sometimes you see on networks, there's almost a group think. And you've said some things about different programs. People need to hear it. And I appreciate and respect that. And also appreciate and respect you taking time to join us because, I've got 4 kids. They're grown now, but you're a great dad. I think that's more important. You and Cole Kubelik, I see more my wife goes, man, that guy loves his wife and kids. And you're the same thing. We need the two of y'all to stay together. Please don't go to the NFL.
No, man, I really enjoy in this college space.
Yeah.
I've told people that since day one. Like, I enjoy, not having to talk about, this person acting this way in the NFL.
Yeah.
Person, because, in the NFL, it's more about telling storylines of the players individually.
Yes.
Sometimes we go into teams, the star teams, they do. But most of the time, we don't get to address all 32. We're going into talking about certain stories and, angles from players' perspective versus college. They're not professionals. So, what do I look like trying to bang on a college kid, So, for me, I talk about the program. And when players don't play well, I try not to call them out. Because for me, always know this, especially in college kids are trying to do what the coach is telling them. A lot of people don't ask and challenge what the coach is teaching them. And a lot of time, a lot of these analysts and people that are watching it don't actually know enough to be able to tell you, actually, this is just stupid defense. And this is a terrible way to try and score on points on offense. You should be way more efficient in this. And, and a lot of people are not going to want to say all these things or challenge coaches when, my mom told me a long time ago, it's like, baby, look, if somebody adult, you respect your elders, but, if something don't sound right, you should be able to ask a question. And if they can't explain to you, you better be smart about it. Just because you ask a question doesn't mean you're wrong. Maybe I just don't understand about what you're saying. And so these are the things that I like to do. Yes, ma'am. And so I challenge other people on these things. And I know ball. So my eyes don't lie to me. You ain't going to sit up here. I don't care what other analysts you bring out there in front of me. Most of these guys don't know more ball than me. So whatever my eyes tell me, as long as I'm watching the game, I'm going to have my own opinions. And when I first started getting into this TV game, I would read these books, these Lindy's books and all these others.
Yeah.
And I'm but then their opinions became mine. So I try not to do all that anymore. I look at books and I look at rosters just to see where people are at. But other than that, though, I'm not going to be moved off of my opinions just because of somebody else's words or books, because I don't go like that. Like you said, Rob, I try and be myself. I maybe ruffle some feathers here or there, but I am who I'm going to be. The same way when, I called Auburn out a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was a huge red flag for me. And I turned out right, and the same way when I called out Kentucky's offensive line a couple years, I was like, dude, they look soft versus Ball State. Yeah. Soft. And that's not how I'm used to seeing Kentucky. Oh, they were all mad. And then that same year, Will Levis gets sacked more than anybody in the country, in the SEC. I'm like, I guess I was right again. Or when I say, hey, Tennessee's going to win 10 games. And everybody's like, you're crazy. And then I'm the only crazy guy that's right. So, I have my own opinions. I stick to my guns. I know ball. And when I get these hunches, I go with it. And it's fine. My team has supported me by, being different. I don't have to, and especially when I can back it up with facts.
Well, I remember that October 15th, 2022, you were up there with my wife and her cousin Mark Ham eating brisket with us before the Tennessee game. And you said what you said, and you were right. But you had picked Tennessee to go 10-2 that year, and I picked them to win 10. And I didn't even, at that time, had never talked to you one-on-one. But everybody said, why do you think that? I said, it's just my gut feeling. I said, it's always darkest before dawn. That's a stock market term that we use a lot. And don't fight the tape. Josh Heupel is building something special up there in Tennessee. And I know I know you got to go, but it means so much. Vince Ferrara is on with us right now, the sports animal up in Knoxville, also on the Tennessee Vol Baseball Network. And Roman, it means so much to have somebody that is not afraid to make people sometimes uncomfortable or get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I asked Paul Feinbaum about having a group of guys like you and Cole and him. And he said, when he first got to the SEC network, he brought it up, but they didn't want to go for it. But we need hard-hitting, true grit journalism. And I love what you just said. I don't want those opinions to become my opinions.
Yes.
It's 110% authentic. Roman Harper, the truth broker. And Vince, say hi to Roman. He's been
Vince,
right
how
on
you
Tennessee
doing?
every year.
Here, I'll get out you guys' way. This is my only thing. Tennessee, I mean, I think the Nico kid has superstar written all over him, especially in this offense. The way they spread it out is so hard to defend. But, man, my only concern is Tennessee has not stopped anybody passing the football. In the last 2 years, they've been really bad in the secondary. And then you look up, and they lost everybody from their secondary room. 11 guys gone, whether it's from NFL prospects or from the transfer portal. And so you can bring guys in, but I've never seen a team be highly successful in the NFL all through free agency. You still got to draft guys and build them up through your own program. And so when you lose guys and you're just going to, we're going to supplement with the portal, you can't supplement a whole team and think you're going to be good. It just doesn't work that way. I haven't seen it work, and it won't work. Now, Lane Kiffin has something a little special there. He's a caveat, but he's always been a little bit cavalier. So that's just what it is. Hey, we'll still see, because now they got real true expectations. So how do they do now? Because they always got the fallback like, oh, it's just Ole Miss. Well, you don't have that now. So it'll be interesting to see. And I'll let you guys go, man. You guys go enjoy yourself.
Hey, Roman, thank you a million for coming on. You're, like I said, I think your number one priority is being a great husband and dad, and that's why we love you and Cole. That's why that show is so good. So counting the days, 80 days until the start of college football season. If anybody's keeping track, 1,920 hours, in case anybody's keeping track. But Roman,
Man,
have a great summer, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You bet. All right. By the way, buddy, Vince Ferrara, the sports animal up in Knoxville. Audrey and I are driving back Sunday, driving all over Memphis, listening. I've got the app for the sports animal on my phone, listening to you and John Wilkerson. Buddy, this guy's a damn good baseball guy on radio. I mean, you really are. And that was – you didn't do the Missouri spring game, did you?
I did not, no.
Okay, there's a guy, and I'm like, he almost sounded like you, but you do great. You and John, how much fun is it? 7 home runs on Sunday up there. Now at 173. Omaha, here we come. Jeff Heimbach, a friend of mine, was talking this morning, sent me a text right before you came on. Tony Vitello, this guy and these baseballs, 3 trips to Omaha in the last 4 years. Man, what's not to like?
Well, for sure, and it's the first time in program history that they've gone in back-to-back years as well. And if you think about it, Tony Vitello's gotten them in the College World Series 3 of the last 4 years. In their previous 71 years of baseball, they went 4 times. So,
yeah.
I mean, you can go on and on with the level of success and consistency in arguably the best league. You know, we'll see, because the ACC is right there with the SEC in the in that invitational in Omaha that's coming up, and who will have the ultimate bragging rights. But the level of consistency is unmatched. Only Virginia is the only other team that's been there 3 of the last 4 years to Omaha, and they got a lot of consistency and a good thing going there too. But it's just incredible. But I'll tell you what, guys, there were some nervous people after game 2, and when Tennessee lost to Evansville, because that was shocking. Not only because it's a 1 seed versus a 4 seed, but because Tennessee was up 4-0. It hit 3 solo home runs. It looked like they're just going to run them out of the park in game 2 and get this over with. But Evansville rallied and won 10-8, and Tennessee was able to bounce back. I was not surprised that Tennessee bounced back in game 3. You know, they had the advantage in pitching, and they knew who their starter was. Evansville had no idea. and it was a lot more difficult for them. And Tennessee was great in rubber matches all season. They were 5-1 in game threes, where it came down to that final game of the series in SEC play. And the only one they lost was the last time they lost back-to-back games, and that was to Alabama in the first weekend of SEC play. They won 5 straight after that. And in those games, they outscored their opponents 70-23. So they just pounded teams in those deciding games, and that's exactly the way it played out there. I was not surprised that they reset in a sport that is day-to-day. So many, and you guys know this because it's a football world in the Southeastern Conference. There's so many new fans, and they bring that football mentality to now looking and following this sport. And you can't make the world out of every single game. And Tennessee has proven that all season, and they did it again. So the nerves were flushed a little bit, and they got there no matter if it took 3 games or 2.
If I could jump in there real fast and
Absolutely.
say good morning. It's nice to just talk to you. I am now. I didn't like Tony Patel at first, but I tell you what I saw after the post game press conference really won me over. His post game statement, and you might call it a rant, you might not.
Right.
I call it a strong statement, and he put it all out there on the line of who he was. And I know it's popular to bash the kids because they want money. I'm not one of those guys. I think the NIL deals could be good for everybody. But I loved what he said. He said, if you're coming to Tennessee with your hand out, don't bother.
Yeah.
And I think that statement, that was a strong post-game press conference. I'm sure you've got a lot of reaction to it. Talk about that.
Yeah, appreciate those comments. And you're right, because look, some coaches won't do that, won't sort of close the door to those kind of kids because they're like, well, they're talents. Let's see if we can figure it out anyway. But no, he took a stance. And, the only tough thing is that sort of venting session, or like you said, maybe rant, people phrase it differently, has been talked about as much as them getting to the College World Series. That would be the only drawback. But I think some people looked at it as odd. But look, he's Italian. We vent things inside, and we need to get it out. And that was the route he decided to take. And it went back to the line of questioning he got after they lost game 2, where somebody used the term failure for the season if they didn't get to Omaha. Somebody else said, well, you guys have been the number 1 team. If you don't make it, it'll be an unsuccessful season. What do you think about that? And one of his players, what really got him going is one of his players was bothered by people phrasing and looking at the season as unsuccessful if they didn't get there. And just like with football guys, the elite coaches, they don't have their players focus on the results. It's the process. Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. And that's kind of what he was alluding to with success. Everybody deems success differently. If you become a much better player and develop as a guy, and you're a great teammate when you don't get an opportunity to play, that's success. And you put a bunch of success stories together, and the results will come. So that's kind of where he was coming from. But that also goes back to the football mentality that people have, and that it's now the standard is championships, whether you've won them or not, or however long it is, and it's tough. And baseball is so difficult to get there. So I think you're right. And look, here's the other thing. Anyone that had a problem with it, his players loved it because he has their back. The fans loved it. We got a bunch of calls and texts about, hey, tell me which wall I need to run through, Coach Vitello. And then absolute gold in recruiting. He mentioned to us, Tony Vitello comes on our show every Monday morning. He said, recruiting is blowing up right now. So that had an impact in recruiting as well. So who cares if somebody
need to make a statement. He made one. Just one more for me. I got out of your way, but I want to say, I know you didn't have time to see Florida and Clemson.
Yeah.
But that game they played, it was, and I've been around sports a long time, 5-hour baseball game. In sports writing, we talk about moments. When you go to a game, if you got 1 or 2 great moments to write about, you got a great game. That game had about 6 moments.
Yeah.
I mean, the Kim Cameron catch in the outfield, the home run. I mean, you just don't get that. And then to Florida to come back and win that game. After that, it was an incredible baseball game. And I really do think, I mean, not just because it was Florida. I have a lot of friends who are not Florida fans who saw that game and thought it was one of the great games they ever saw. The question of it come is it also, at the same time, is college baseball beginning to blow up?
Yeah.
And it's game to game. And we were actually, I had that Florida Clemson game on. It kind of overlapped with our game. And we couldn't believe it. Actually, no, I guess it was in the pregame. The press box exploded at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. And it was because of that catch by Canarella. It was amazing. And just kids able to reset when something bad happens and answer back. We've seen that all tournament long. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, by the way, one quick thought, rather than get out of your way, but I wanted to say, lost in all this, Sully got hammered a lot this year, as you might know, Sullivan. And some people want to run him off and all that stuff. But you don't even realize it. So my colleague and I were doing the show on Monday, and we talked about it. He said, I've just realized they've been to 9 consecutive supers. And, you look at the numbers and he's won 9. I mean, his numbers are unbelievable. People don't really know sometimes what they got in a treasure in Kevin O'Sullivan.
Yeah, and I'll say this real quick. When Tennessee played Florida, and I know they're a fierce rival, I came out of there impressed with Florida. You could tell that the talent was there. They weren't playing consistent. They weren't pitching their best, but you knew the talent was there. So not only are they playing their best, but they're having new guys rise up, and obviously the experience. Kevin O'Sullivan is amazing. It's proven the results are there. So I have no problem with them in the tournament, and I knew that they would be dangerous if they got in.
Yeah. One thing, let me say something real quick about one of our sponsors, a new one, Coolmore Logistics and Transportation. Anything that you need hauled on a flatbed, LTL, van, container, they can get it moved anywhere. I'm talking seed, cotton, lumber, steel, bricks, anything. They are Memphis-based with a global reach, coolmorelogistics.com. They are going to be growing. Just keep your eyes on them. And also want to say something about the Vitamin Shop, Oxford and Olive Branch, Mississippi. Hey, man, summertime, a lot of people sit around, it's too hot, whatever. You got to take care of yourself. The Vitamin Shop, we've got these QR codes we put up, and on our website, sidelines.live, you can find out. But Oxford and Olive Branch, Mississippi, the Vitamin Shop, proud to have them as a sponsor as well. All of our sponsors like Hewlett & Dunn, Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Remember, boot sale up through Father's Day. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. HewlettandDunn.com, over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. Vince, Buddy's a big Rays fan. You're a Rays fan. I'm really excited about the future of baseball. And I saw a book. I've got to grab it today when I go into Barnes & Noble's. It's $20. It's a big hardback, huge book. All the baseball stadiums, past and present, for Major League Baseball in America. The game, they're annuitizing their future. And now you've got the second Hall of Famer. We talked about it. Todd Hilton, 17 years with one team, the Rockies. Frank Thomas, of course, played about, 18. White Sox. These guys, they're going to be a lot more to come. Okay. That's a given. You talk about Omaha, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas A&M, ACC, Florida State, Virginia, UNC, and NC State. It's going to be fun. It's the SEC ACC Challenge. You scout a lot. You know the SEC. What do you know about these ACC teams that will keep you up at night with your hair on fire?
Well, we'll start with Florida State, Tennessee's opponent on Friday, and they're playing great baseball. Man, they can really hit. They actually have a higher team batting average than Tennessee. They're hitting 316 on the year. They got their best hitter is Cam Smith. He's hitting over 400, 402. And then James Tibbs III had a big time game in their super regional clinching game where he had 3 home runs, 5 hits, drove home 6. He has 94 RBI this season. 94.
Whoa.
Florida State has played 62 games. You do the math. That's incredible, and that's ACC competition too.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Their frontline guy. This is interesting. Jamie Arnold is their top guy. 11-3, 2.77 earned run average. Pitched 100 innings. Here's his walk to strikeout ratio: 22 walks, 155 strikeouts. So big time arm. But the thing is, Florida State has pitched him in their second game on the weekends and in the postseason. If they do that, then Tennessee will avoid him. Now, they got some other good arms on that staff too, but avoiding him would be huge. And the reasoning for that is if you go 2-0 in the College World Series, kind of like with your regionals, it's a huge advantage to get into that winner bracket, because then you're just a win away from getting into the final. And so Tennessee will stick with Beam, I believe, for their second game. But Florida State brings a lot to the table. Don't pitch quite as well as Tennessee, but still have some dangerous guys. And they're coming back for the first time without Mike Martin, the legendary coach, after missing the tournament last year. And Link Jarrett was the coach at Notre Dame when they beat Tennessee in the Super Regional a couple of years ago. So that's another very interesting sort of sidebar with them. Virginia is a team that in 2021 Tennessee ran into and beat them in the College World Series. So they're playing great right now. They're, like I mentioned, the only other team that has gotten there 3 of the last 4 years. So Tennessee's familiar with them in Omaha. And then North Carolina is playing really good baseball. They're the walk-off kings right now. Yeah. You know, so many of those games went walk-off. And they played a lot of competitive games too. Man, the LSU taking them to the brink so much, so competitive. And Tennessee has been eliminated in the Chapel Hill Regional before, early in Tony Vitello's tenure when they got there. So Tennessee's familiar with them from a baseball standpoint. And then NC State, Tennessee got a transfer from NC State in Cannon Peebles, a catcher. And then NC State has a one-time ball in Harris Hollis Fanning, who is a 6'8" right-hander who is blind in his left eye. Amazing. He had an injury just working out in his farm, and there was something shrapnel or something in a mower come up in his eye, and so he only has vision in one eye. He pitched that way at Tennessee. Amazing to learn that story then, and he's coming out of the bullpen for NC State. But they're really hot right now, like 18 of the last 23 or something like that, 19 to 24. So that's just a little thumbnail on those ACC teams.
Well, again, that's why we love having you on this show, because you just gave us more information than you're probably going to get on any network broadcast. So thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. I just want to say, I know we got to go, but I got to get a quick question in to Vince. You know, in Major League Baseball, when it comes to October, it's about the pitching and the arms. You can never have too many guys. You know, I know that they're crushing the ball in the SEC. Some people think the baseball is juice, but whatever's going on is a lot of home runs. The question is, when it comes down to it, if it's pitching, it will decide it. What 2 teams do you see coming out of Omaha to play for the championship?
Oh, that is a great question, buddy. Virginia comes to mind because they always can pitch. Honestly, North Carolina does also. So much of it, though, is who is hot. You've got some guys that are really pitching well. They maybe haven't towards the end of the year, but now you're seeing them have their frontline stuff. So it's more hot pitching versus maybe year-round pitching. Like I mentioned, Jamie Arnold at Florida State, the numbers are amazing with the 22 walks and 155 strikeouts. But is someone going to rise up and show that kind of ability? I think Tennessee doesn't have a takeover complete game 7, 8, 9 inning guy. Their third guy in Xander Sechrest has been unbelievable. He's their lightest thrower of the 3. He's in his last 4 games, he's worked 23 innings with 2 earned runs allowed. Not overpowering stuff, just knows how to pitch. So to answer your question, I would probably say maybe North Carolina because of the depth of arms, including the bullpen. And then on the other side, maybe Kentucky. Kentucky's really pitching great right now. And Kentucky can also win different ways, different ballparks. So that if anyone's not going to be bothered by the ballpark, and I think that's a little bit overrated, it might be Kentucky.
Well, they can send some of those arms down to the Rays. They could use it right now.
For sure. I'm with you on that. I'm from Tampa, so absolutely.
Yeah. And see, he's at Mama Ferrara's great Italian kitchen, home kitchen, exclusively for Vince and his family. And look, this is the cool thing.
Wait. That's a real place? Is that just his mother?
That's what I call his
my
mom's kitchen.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah,
I was going to be down there and go by looking for Mama Ferrara. I lived in St. Pete for a while. We're going to go down there and visit. Great. Some real Italian food. I lived in New York. I know what real Italian food is.
Yeah, absolutely. We should have had a restaurant by now. And if it ever happens, then Rob's going to be our first customer at the door for sure.
Listen, I'm in Memphis. I love Pete and Sam's, the Bomberitos, since 1947. They came up with the barbecue pizza, that and Coletta's, celebrating 101 years with the Elvis room in there. Cool Elvis story. The waitress was telling us, this was really cool. I said, did you ever know Elvis? She goes, yeah, he was in here a lot. She goes, they came in, Elvis and the Memphis Mafia one time, late at night from Las Vegas, right at closing time. And there was like 30 of them in the crowd. And one of Elvis's people went over and said, hey, can we do this? And she goes, well, we only have a couple of things. And Elvis went over there and said, ma'am, I'm Elvis Presley. She's like, oh, really? He goes, what do you have? We'll take it. She goes, well, we got spaghetti and we got salads. He goes, that'd be very nice, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. It's just, and left like a tip of thousands. You know, just cool guy. And it's the big debate. The barbecue pizza, it's about that thick. It's about this big. But there's no better food in the world than Cajun and Italian food. I'm sorry. It's just,
what's your best pizza? What's Vince's favorite pizza? What's your favorite pizza?
Oh, well, anything my mom makes is just different.
I'll trade it, Vince, so we can go buy. What do you? Yeah. What place do you go in St. Pete when you go for pizza?
I would say margarita, the white. Okay. To me, that's my favorite. And
what restaurant?
What's that?
What place do you buy it? Where?
Restaurant.
Not an Italian one. There's really not a ton of Italian choices here in Knoxville, but Mellow Mushroom, which is more of a chain, they make it.
They really have the best pizza in my hometown of Ocala. Really good. And final story, let you go. I lived in Colorado a number of years. There was a place called the Colorado Mining Company there. When Elvis was on top of his game, he was very popular in Denver because they deputized. There was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that cost $25 at the Colorado Mining Company. And Elvis would fly his plane in and get 50 of them. And take them out to him. So I was in there when it still has been closed a while. I went there one night to eat with my friend Woody Page. And I ordered one. And I had a $25, because I honestly say I ate a $25 peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay?
Nice.
Wow.
It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to me. I mean, whatever.
Well, you got to make it. You got to make it right. Now, Elvis would do a stick of butter in the skillet with, and toast, fried peanut butter and banana sandwich. Now that is really good. We're really doing a lot for health, aren't we?
You're making him hungry. I can see him licking his chop, thinking about that as his mama's pizza.
I know we can, but let me say this: we got a few minutes left. Vince, this is so much fun having people on that really know their craft. And I like George, man. This guy and Dr. Arnoff, Perry Mason. I like Cajun food, Italian food, and Thai food. Yeah, I make the best red beans and rice and spaghetti, and I purchase the Thai food. Hey, you go to New Orleans on a Monday, go to Mass, and eat red beans and rice. That is a New Orleans tradition. I mean, every week. But Vince, who's going to Omaha out there?
Yeah, I am not. My partner, John Wilkerson, is. He's the longtime voice of Tennessee baseball. He and I call Tennessee baseball, but we also host the morning show together. So somebody has to be here to hold down the show and do remotes, be it remotes for our clients and things like that. You guys know that goes. So
Yes.
he's leaving today with the team. So I'll be back here doing the shows, and we'll listen to him. Before we're done, if I want to say something real quick, in connecting back to Roman Harper, something he said when we get a second.
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Let her rip.
So, yeah, I actually covered. I wanted to say this, but he had to go. I actually covered Roman at Alabama. I worked there doing sports talk radio when he was a player there. So I used to be one of those young guys sticking microphones in his face in the group.
Yeah.
It avails. So he was also always a class act. And he mentioned the secondary for Tennessee as being the question mark. And, they have had a lot of departures and new faces. But one thing to consider for your audience is they had so many injuries towards the end of last year that they had a number of guys get some late year playing time and take advantage of it. Ricky Gibson III at corner, Jordan Thomas at safety and nickel, Andre Turrentine, a former Ohio State Buckeye. Those guys all got some experience late in the year. All three of them could potentially be returning players that start. Plus, you have the transfer portal. Man, Jermod McCoy, they brought in from Oregon State's fantastic. Jalen McMurray has a chance potentially to start also from Temple. Jacoby Thomas from Middle Tennessee. And then an exciting, you're going to hear this name a lot, an exciting rookie, maybe because of his ability in special teams or return game, and he might win the starting nickel spot, and that's Boo Carter. He played in the Chattanooga area. Man, this guy is absolutely dynamic, made a big impression in spring practice. So crazy athletic. So I actually think they have fewer bodies, but they're more explosive and athletic and faster, which they needed to be. And they have the potential to be, I think, a better group than they were a year ago, and they need to be, obviously. But that D-line is going to help them so much, man. They have arguably the best one or two D-lines in the Southeastern Conference. That'll help them until they kind of get more of that chemistry going in the secondary.
Look, it's going to be awesome. And I'm sitting there looking at all these people, the food, sticky toffee pudding. My friend Chef Roger Watson, I'll get him on. He worked for Gordon Ramsay for 8 years. He said most people last 2 nights. He did it 8 years. Look, awesome show. Catch Vince Ferrara, the sports animal. He is your gateway. Speaking of Gateway Tire and Service Center, proud to have him as a sponsor of Sidelines, and ECS House Industries. All the agricultural equipment, the better roller, the pulverizer, the better chopper, the aerators for catfish farms. Yeah, we talk about catfish a lot. We're in the South. Proud to have them as sponsors. All of our sponsors are on sidelines.live. Great stuff. Roman Harper, Vince Ferrara, Buddy Martin. What an honor. Everybody just remember this, man. We're the most blessed people in the blessed country in the history of the world. Go out and make great things happen. You'll get out of life what you accept. And, Buddy, you'll have a show tonight, the Buddy Martin Show. It'll be awesome. It always is. And I appreciate all of our viewers and listeners, and support our sponsors and support one another. Buddy, what are you talking about tonight? And we'll wrap it up.
I'll be more baseball, I'm sure, and a few other things going on. U.S. Open starts. We don't talk much golf, but this is one I want. I love Pinehurst. I want to see what Scotty Scheffler could do. We'll talk Gators like we always do on the Buddy Martin Show right here on the same network. So, folks, check us out, and looking forward to it. Vince, has been enjoyable being on with you. All the best to you. I'll be checking out your show and the information. Tell folks how else they can reach you.
Yeah, and get him on your show anytime. He's awesome.
Yeah, pleasure, buddy. I really appreciate you. And you can follow me on all the socials, Vince Sports, VINCE Sports, Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter/X. And then our website, we're a podcast for our morning show. It's 991thesportsanimal.com. And then vincesports.net. You can see some of the all the work I've done in terms of broadcasting. Need to update some of that, but there's a ton of stuff there as well.
All right, man. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll see y'all in the morning. Appreciate it.
See you, Rob.
All right, thank you.